Hello, year one. Okay, so yesterday we were looking at non-fiction books, weren't we? We were looking at the contents page. Just before we get a move on to the next part today, I'm going to show you a book here, and I'm going to read you a sentence. I want you to tell me if it's true or false. Is The Gruffalo a non-fiction book? True or false? What do you think? Well done if you said that that is false. The Gruffalo is a fiction book because it's made up, isn't it? You don't really have a Gruffalo. Um, so it's not a real book, it's make believe to entertain children mainly. Okay, what about this next one? Is this true or false? You will find a contents page in a non fiction book. That's usually false. Most of the time you'll find a contents page in a non fiction book, but the odd time you will have them in a fiction book, like in a storybook. You know those books in school we have, if there are 2 stories or 3 stories in the book, it might tell you that inside the contents page. Okay, and last one. Is this true or false? Is this a fiction book, The Life Cycle of a Frog? Is that a fiction book or a non-fiction book? Well done if you said that's false. This isn't made up, isn't it? Frogs are real. They have a life cycle. We've learnt about it. Tadpoles and frog spawn, froglet, frog. We know all about that. Okay, so let's move on to what we're doing today. And today is... we're looking at a different part of the non-fiction book. We're looking at the contents page. We were looking at the contents page yesterday. We're looking at the index today. Okay, what is an index? Okay, an index page tells us where we will find a certain word in a book. So not a section like a chapter. This is going to tell us an exact word. If you're reading a book and you love football and you want to see if there's anything about football in that book, you go to the very back and you look for football, and you look for the numbers beside football to find out what pages football will be on. Now, the reason that an index page is useful is because it'll save you looking through the whole book, and it's easier because it's in alphabetical order. That's why we did a little bit of practice of alphabetical order on Friday. We had to put the words in alphabetical order. You can see here, B comes before D and so on. We don't have any A words, we don't have any Z words, but all these letters, the first letters are in alphabetical order. And look, skip and stretch, they had to go to the second letter there to put those in alphabetical order. So, if I said to you, where do I find out about dance? You would look at here and you will say, oh, dance. Dance is on page 12 and page 15. If I said to you, where could I find out about music? Shout out at home, where could I find out about music? Yeah, I can find out about music on page 7, 8 and 14. What would I read about on page 9? What would I read about on page 9? So you look for the number 9, you go to your contents page, your index, you're looking for the number 9. 9 is toes. Well, what would I find out about on page 7? There might be more than one thing. Page 7 tells me about bend, how to bend, and page 7 tells me about music. Okay, now let's look at a different one. Okay, what's the difference between a contents page and an index? Well, contents page is at the start of the book, index is at the end. Contents page is not in alphabetical order. Let's look and see if there are any other differences. So on a contents page, page numbers are in order. See, they're going from smaller numbers up to biggest numbers. But in an index, they can be in any order. But the words are in alphabetical order. So just whatever page they're on, they're not in any order. But you see these, they're getting smaller to bigger on a contents page. Okay. Now we're going to look here at this index. This index is about a book about mini beasts. So we've got beetles, centipedes, dust mites, fleas, millipedes, slugs, snails, and spiders. So, if I told you that I wanted you to find out about beetles, you would look for beetles. So B is going to come near the start of the alphabet. Beetles is page 4 to 5. That means it's page 4 and page 5. But if I said to you that I wanted you to find out about beetles and it was on page 10 to 15, that doesn't mean just 10 and 15. That means 10 to 15. So 10 the whole way up to 15. So what's 10? What's next? 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15. That would all be about beetles, okay? Okay, we use an index page to help us find information because these features help us find the information easier. Otherwise, we wouldn't know where to start. It's especially easy because of the alphabetical order, okay? So as I just said, I was talking about that a minute ago. If it said, what about page 22 to 33 in a book, that would mean, say it said, say you were reading about football and you found out football was on 22 to 33, that means that all of those pages would be about football. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33 would be the last one, okay? Today we're going to use indexes to answer questions just like we did yesterday with a contents page. Now, I've got different groups here. I've got table, there's a table that could do one about sea animals. I'll show you here, it's easier. This is the easier one where you're answering questions about sea animals using this index. Whereas the crab is pages 12 to 13. Then we have Exploring London, which is a little bit harder because it's a little bit harder to read, but similar questions. The questions are on the next page. Okay? And then finally we have one where this one's probably the hardest because it has a contents page, a glossary with those tricky words in it. Remember the bit which tells you what the tricky words are? And an index. So you might have to use all of those sections. This index actually is interesting because it's not in alphabet. It has Tiger in the wrong place. Whoever's done this has put this in the wrong order. So there's questions for each of those, and I want you to try and answer the questions in full sentences, just like yesterday. I hope you enjoy it. I think you'll be really good at this year one. It's good to investigate books. Maybe you can investigate some of your own books later. As I was looking on Oxford Owl, there's lots of non-fiction books on there. If we just flick to the end, there's lots of them. Just look to see if they have a contents page and index, and you can do answering your own questions about those as well. Okay, see you later on. Bye bye.